Greetings, guys. Welcome to the bustling metropolis of Lima, Peru. I'm Phil. I'm a digital nomad guitar teacher, and it's time for you to memorize your guitar neck the easiest way possible. So I've got a couple other videos on this on my channel, but today what I wanted to do is to talk about the methods people normally try and why they don't work, but also why they're actually amazing and awesome for learning other things and why you should use them in other ways. And then at the end of the video, I'll go over my world's easiest method of actually memorizing the guitar neck. It takes no time at all once you do it right. You can skip to that, but it really is important to learn and try out these other methods and these other things that you're going to learn about the guitar neck and the relationships between notes. That's why I'm making this extra video, because I haven't talked much about those before. And yes, it does feel like I'm living inside a giant orange amplifier. It's kind of cool, something only a guitar player would think of, but I dig it. So let's talk about the first method, maybe one of the most classic ways to try and memorize the notes. And that's to take an entire scale and to think about, well, playing through it, learn the shape, and counting or naming the notes as you go. Now, the best way to do this would be to start with an A minor or C major scale. Do you know why A minor and C major are exactly the same? That's a topic for another day, but super important. So, for example, going A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And even trickier and more important, just as a musician, is to count through your alphabet backwards, right? C, D, A, G, F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C, B, A. So, if you're trying to memorize your notes, well, that's, 16, 18 notes all together. If you do it long enough, maybe you'll get a feel for where some of those notes are. But even if you do, chances are if we say, what's this? You're going to go, okay, A, B, C, D, E, F. Oh, it's G. You're counting up to that note. And this is the main flaw with all the other ways of memorizing the notes on your guitar. They're all relating shapes or patterns or numbering systems. We're always translating something before you actually get to that final note. And anytime you're doing that, it's going to be slow. Simple as that. Whereas with my method later in the video, you're just going to memorize each note, boom. Pretty much instant. You're going to know what that note is. And then there's no translating, there's no counting, there's no using shapes or patterns to do it. Now back to our scale shapes. Well, in this case, what this method, counting your way up, is really good for, well, it's good for counting backwards through the alphabet, which is a very musical thing to do. It's also good for actually learning your scale shapes. If you want to learn all the scale shapes on your guitar, you can use this method, right? Starting here. And so on and so on. This is actually how I learned scales when I was younger. I thought this was the only way to learn the modes, right? Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, and all that amazing fun stuff. I thought you had to start on the 6th string with your first finger for each mode. So I learned my modes that way. And I would move my way up and around the neck and do that, which is actually the most difficult way to learn the modes because each one is a different shape. I've got an amazing video about the easiest way to learn the modes just by using one scale shape, which is one of my favorite scale shapes. Check that out. It's a really great way of thinking about the modes, learning them, and actually using them in the fastest way possible. So that's the idea. Learn your scale shapes, wonderful, but not good for memorizing your notes quickly. Now, number 2, The octave method. Again, this is very cool, very useful, but you're translating things over when you're finding these notes. So, what do I mean? Let's take that A again, number 5 on your 6th string. And you may already know that an octave up from that, you can think of a little box shape, or you can think 2 strings down towards the floor and 2 frets over. That's great, that's important to know. And we call these intervals. An interval is a musical distance, the distance between 2 notes. Every interval has a name, it has a specific sound or feel to it, and it has a shape or multiple shapes on the guitar. So this is super cool, this is super useful and helpful, but if we want to find this note, we don't want to have to think, do I know a note that's an octave over? Okay, what's that? Then I move it up again. Okay, now if you know this is A, great, you know that's A as well. So this is wonderful. Again, we can check this out, right? Octave, octave. Remember, anytime the 2nd string is involved or that zone, it screws up our shapes on the guitar. So if we move down, right, that's all of a sudden I'm on the 4th string and the 2nd string. Now I'm 3 frets apart. And if we move down again, it's the same. Oh, am I out of tune again? Temperature, humidity. So there's your basic octave shape. You can also think of it like this, right? Number 7 on the 4th string, again an A. And there. Right? That's an important one to know because it's part of all of our main, or a lot of our main scale shapes. Later on, you're going to do the same thing with other intervals, right? Like a power chord is what we call a perfect 5th. And you can move these shapes around. Super useful. Guitar playing is all about moving shapes around. It's one of the greatest shortcuts ever. But for memorizing the notes, not the greatest thing. Another way to think about this octave shape that you might have used before if you've ever tuned your guitar using the old 5-0 method is moving over 5 frets. For example, there's a D and there's a D, same note. Right, there's a G on your 4th string. Fret number 5, we move over 5 frets, and there it is on the 5th string. Really cool and useful to know, but not the best way of memorizing your notes. So learn these shapes, use them in the right context. This is part of understanding the neck and making sense of everything. And it's awesome. But don't use it to memorize the notes. Okay, my third way that I tried when I was younger to actually memorize all the notes, because I spent many years trying to finally memorize the notes. As a little kid, I did some sight reading in open position, and I learned those notes there because of it. But the rest of the neck was just a pain in the butt. It was a mystery. So the other method is to just take 1 fret and to try and learn the names of those notes. I thought that would be a quick and useful way to actually memorize the notes in one area. Now, if you do that long enough, well, great, maybe you know 1 fret. And then all the other frets are there, so that's a massive amount of work, and it's probably not going to get you to memorize the notes. But what it is good for is just practice on finding these notes once you have them memorized better. Take any fret on your guitar and just see if you can name, or how fast you can name all the notes on that fret. That is super useful. It's a good little quiz, a good test for yourself. Okay, so here it is. If you skipped here, great, this method is awesome, but I highly recommend watching the rest of the video too, because there is just some really good, useful things in there that will improve your knowledge and your guitar playing. So my method, the easiest way ever, again, we're breaking things into the smallest possible pieces. Trying to memorize 16 or 18 notes at once is, well, hard. Just like memorizing 16 numbers at once is hard. So instead of memorizing all the notes in one area of the neck, we're going to do the complete opposite. We're going to memorize one note everywhere. And then we're going to have all of a sudden a landmark. So for example, we're going to start with an E. Now remember that when we get to fret number 12, that is our octave compared to the open string. It's the exact same note, and that's where everything repeats. So if you add 12 to any number, maybe you didn't already know this, so if you add 12 to every number, you get the same note. So number 2 is the same as number 14. Right? Number 7 is the same as number 19, and so on. So what we're going to do is we're going to completely just ignore all the repeats. That leaves us with only one of every note on each string. So to memorize the E's, well, 2 of them are open strings, so all you have to do is memorize 4 notes, and all of a sudden you know every E on your whole guitar. Now, do you know how to do that? Again, if you watch my original really long video on memorizing the easiest way to memorize the fretboard, I talk about that. Again, memorizing which notes are 1 fret apart, which notes are 2 frets apart, and counting your way up. I'll skip going through that today, but what we end up with, to shortcut you, is number 7 on the 5th string, number 2 on the 4th string. You can also do this by ear instead of counting your way up. Pick an E somewhere and just find those same sounds. We get number 9 on the 3rd string, and we get number 5 on the 2nd string. So again, that was 7, 2, 9, and 5. Now the one thing you don't want to do is just try and memorize those numbers in order. Right? If you just memorize, hey, 7, 2, 9, 5, 7, 2, 9, 5, if we say what's E on the 3rd string, you might have to think, okay, 7, 2, 9. You're counting up to that. And that's exactly what we're trying to avoid. So all you have to do, you don't even need a guitar with you to do this, is just to randomly pick a string and say, where's E? Until you just know instantly. Right? You say 3rd string, where's E? If you know it's 9 instantly, great. So for example, 2nd string, where's E? Think about it for a sec. 5th string, where's E? And 4th string, where's E? Test yourself on that until you just have that completely, instantly, easily memorized. Now, if you know all the E's, remember, these are landmarks. So if you know where E is, great, you know F is right next to it, 1 fret away. Or G is 3 frets away, right? Or you know D is 2 frets backwards. So we have these landmarks. Now after you do the E's, we're going to pick a note that's nowhere near E. We're going to do A next. And you can do this with all the notes, but you don't have to, even after just 2 or 3 notes. Right? I usually do E, then I do A, and then I'll do C. Even after you just know those 3 landmarks, everything is close to something you already know. And eventually you can add more notes to that, and you're just going to start memorizing the other notes by using them a whole bunch, or by quizzing yourself on those as well. But just those 3 give you landmarks, so instantly everything is super close to a note that you have memorized. So take a second, find all the A's, again ignore the 5th string because it's the open string. Again, there's only 4 notes to memorize because we have an open string and we have 2 repeats. So find those A's, pause the video if you need to. Okay, so we have 5 on your 6th string, right? Open 5th string, 7 on your 4th string, right? 2 on your 3rd string, 10 on your 2nd string, and again 5 on your 1st string. So now, whenever you pick a random string, right, never go in order. Whenever you pick a random string, play E, then A. Just to quiz yourself. Super simple. You'll have those notes memorized in no time. After that, add C. Memorize your E's, A's, and C's. Pick any random string and just know where E is, where A is, and where C is. Instantly and easily. After that, you can toss those out and start a new batch of notes, or you can just stick with those landmarks, and you're still going to be able to find everything way more easily all over the entire guitar neck. That's pretty much it. If you made it this far, comment, I'm awesome. Not me, you. And yeah, feel free to check out my channel. I've got an awesome new Patreon community that I'm building based on improvising, jamming, being creative, and working on all your knowledge and guitar skills as well. So thanks so much. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you next time.